Hey guys, Duke here, and today I want to give you all some tips on what I'm doing and have done to be ready to level quickly and have a strong character when Beyond Light drops in a few weeks. A super quick note before we begin. I'm currently running a giveaway for a copy of Beyond Light that runs until the end of October. If interested, the end of the video will have a bit more information, and the first link in the description will show you how to enter. The first thing I'm going to talk about today are bounties. For those who have been through the expansion grinds before, we know all about the bounty prep, the quote spreadsheets, and all of that. If this is your first time trying to level quickly in a big expansion though, here are some tips. Doing bounties now by finishing them, but not turning them in, allows you to basically store XP. XP is extremely beneficial, as the more XP you get, the higher you will be able to get your artifact level up to when the season begins. Assuming things work the same or similarly to the way they have for a while now, those early levels on the artifact can be bumped up quite a few levels just from saved bounties, so that you can be ahead of the curve from minute 1 of Beyond Light launching. Not only does this XP allow you to get levels on your new artifact, but it also gives you the ability to use more unlocks on the artifact as well. At the start of each new season, we get a new artifact with new, and potentially some reused, mods on it. However, to use these mods, we need to get enough XP to earn the unlocks. So by saving these bounties, you will have a large amount of XP right away to be able to use some of the mods on the artifact, and potentially experiment with any new mods that may sound promising. On your quests and bounties page, you can hold up to 63 total items. However, for every quest you are holding, that is one less bounty that you can hold. So this is something to consider if you're really trying to min-max. Another part of min-maxing is the types of bounties you complete and hold. For the maximum amount of experience, you want to make sure to hold as many weekly bounties as possible, as these give the most amount of total XP. Second best would be the daily bounties, and the least amount of total XP is the repeatable bounties. It's important to remember though that any amount of XP is more than 0 when it comes to prepping and getting a bit ahead. Materials are also a huge factor when it comes to being prepared and ready to level for a new expansion. With a new expansion comes new armor, new weapons, new mods, new everything. There's going to be many things to experiment with and level, and to be able to do that, you will need the materials to do so. Things such as Ascendant Shards, Enhancement Prisms, Enhancement Cores, Upgrade Modules, Legendary Shards, and an often overlooked but hugely important thing, Glimmer, will all be used to help fuel the strength and leveling of this new gear. Also, the ability to edge your level with +0 vendors, which I've talked about in a few videos before, and will almost certainly be talking about again when Beyond Light actually releases, is a huge benefit in the first couple days of leveling. So saving planetary materials, as well as Crucible tokens, Vanguard tokens, and Gunsmith materials can be extremely beneficial as well. There are also a number of weapons that I would highly suggest having and getting good rolls on before Beyond Light, especially with some of the crowd favorites being sunset and no longer able to reach current levels once it releases. One weapon I consider extremely important to get is Falling Guillotine, or Spinny Sword as I passionately refer to it as. This sword is absolutely nutty, and I would highly recommend getting as good a roll as possible before the season ends. You get your first drop at level 30 on the Season Pass, but once you hit Season Pass rank 45, you can turn any Umbral engrams you have into arrival-focused Umbral engrams at the Prismatic Recaster next to Drifter. The roll that I have and that I would recommend getting is Jagged Edge, Swordmaster's Guard, Relentless Strikes, and Whirlwind Blade. From what I understand, Swordmaster's Guard may not be required or as important as the other three, but just make sure you do not use Heavy Guard in that slot. I also have 2 additional rolls of Falling Guillotine. One that swaps out Relentless Strikes with Tireless Blade, and one that swaps Whirlwind Blade with Surrounded, in case of situational effectiveness or potential buffs and nerfs to specific perks down the line. Next, I would highly recommend getting a good roll of either Gnawing Hunger or the Summoner, or even better, a good roll of both. Gnawing Hunger is acquired by turning your Umbral engrams into lead-focused Umbral engrams, while the Summoner is acquired from Trials of Osiris. With these weapons, there is a lot of discussion on what perks are best, and in my opinion, it comes down to what feels good to you, as well as a bit of how you're using it. For example, Subsistence is considered a pretty solid perk on these auto rifles, but in a situation in which you're using it against really beefy enemies, it may not be as strong. Having some sort of damage perk, such as Rampage, Kill Clip, Swashbuckler, etc., can all be good in the final column, but I've also seen a lot of people rally around Demolitionist as well. Long story short, get a bunch of different rolls and try them until you find one that fits your playstyle. A less popular weapon that I've enjoyed a lot and would recommend is Long Shadow. Due to sunsetting, we are losing Mountaintop and Tranquility from the kinetic slot, which are both solid options to kill things at range as well as provide some nice backup DPS. There's nothing that is going to replace the insane utility of Mountaintop, and this certainly won't either, but I like the option it provides as a long-range weapon in the kinetic slot to pair with something like Gnawing Hunger in the energy slot going forward. The role I've grown to really enjoy is Field Prep and Triple Tap, to go along with a backup mag mod, as that allows for 7 shots in the mag and even more if successfully proccing Triple Tap, as well as increased reserves. I'm basically looking at this as a super budget Whisper of the Worm, where you can potentially get off 10 shots without having to reload. You can acquire Long Shadow by ranking up with Zavala, as well as the drops you get for doing your powerful and pinnacle strike rewards. I would absolutely not recommend using any saved up tokens to go for a Long Shadow roll before Beyond Light, as those tokens will be key moving forward. But this is more of a call to look at the roll if you do happen to get any Long Shadows in the next few weeks, or even once Beyond Light releases, and you do use those saved up tokens. The last of the random roll weapons I've been looking at with an eye towards next season is Berenger's Memory. This can also be acquired with Umbral Engrams, this time turning them into assassin-focused Umbral Engrams. With Storm of the Raven, at least our original ones, and Wendigo being sunset, this could serve as a nice replacement. You also have the option of going for a new Storm of the Raven with Iron Banner tokens, but this is a much easier option to get as many rolls as possible quickly, and without the pain of so much Crucible for those of us who would rather stick to the PvE side when possible. I have 4 different rolls that I am keeping in my Berengers, all of which have Spike Grenades in the second slot and Auto-Loading Holster in the final spot. The different rolls in the third slot that I am keeping are Field Prep, Quick Draw, Clown Cartridge, and Pulse Monitor. I realize that both Clown Cartridge and Pulse Monitor can defeat the purpose of having Auto-Loading Holster, but I do feel like there are times where they could both come into play in the same encounter, depending on how exactly the encounter plays out. If I had to pick one to use for all situations though, I would most likely go for the Spike, Field Prep, and Auto-Loading Holster roll, as that is the safest option to be useful in almost all scenarios. My final 2 weapons I'd like to talk about are both exotics and are both acquired from activities that are being sunset, which adds to the worry of them potentially being unacquirable for a bit of time once Beyond Light comes out. These weapons are Anarchy and Whisper of the Worm. In my opinion, these are 2 of the strongest weapons in the entire game, and are about as must-have as any weapon in the game could be. Anarchy has an absurdly strong ammo economy on its side, while also providing the flexibility to be solid DPS, especially when paired with a second DPS weapon to do damage while it ticks, as well as provide meaningful single-target takedown ability, as well as add clear with its unique trap-like abilities. Whisper, on the other hand, is purely about the boss DPS, but it can really shine in that spot. When combined with Whispered Breathing, its Catalyst perk, it provides some of the best mid-length plus DPS potential. What I mean by mid-length plus is follows. It doesn't provide insane burst DPS, so it's not as good in a really tight DPS window. But in a medium to long DPS phase where you can consistently hit crit shots, it is an invaluable tool to have at your disposal for Beyond Light. Speaking of Beyond Light, as I mentioned earlier in the video, I am doing a giveaway at the end of the month. If you made it to the end of the video and want an extra chance to win the copy of Beyond Light, go to the Twitter post linked in the description, follow the rules for entering, and then comment on that post what your favorite raid in Destiny history has been so far and why. It could be a certain boss, the music, the visuals, the loot, a certain experience, anything. I hope this video helped take some of the guesswork and confusion out of your prepping for Beyond Light and answered some questions that you may have. As always, a like and sub is appreciated, and if you have any questions or feedback, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, good luck in the giveaway if you are entering, and have an amazing day.